What's up everybody, it's Zach. Welcome back to another video here on the LsBluu YouTube channel. If you have never been here before, we do a lot of Ls Swap S10 stuff, drag racing, nitrous drag racing. We break stuff, we fix it, and I show you how to do it. Or attempt to show you how to do it. Sometimes it's a learning process for me. Today's video, I am going to show you or tell you how much you could possibly spend. I've probably done this before, but I'm gonna break it down on how much you could possibly spend on your Ls Swap and how to budget your money when it comes to these things, because I spent a lot of money on stuff that I really didn't need, but it's all right. The truck's on the road, it's doing fantastic, and I'm gonna try to help you guys avoid some of the expenses that I had that I probably could have found cheaper, but we're gonna talk about that today. So let's get started. So the first thing that I had to buy when it came time to do the Ls Swap was the engine. This engine was $225, 110,000 miles. It's 100% stock. Go to a junkyard, find you a 4.8, 5.3, or a 6 liter, or whatever you can get your hands on. We have $225 there, and then I had to order some parts from Glenn's Auto Performance to make that intake work. The Trailblazer intake, those were about $250. You don't have to, you can run the stock Gen 3 truck intake without having to spend that money, but those parts were this throttle bracket, or this throttle cable bracket, 92mm throttle body, and the Corvette fuel regulator. After I got those, you have to get an oil pan. The oil pan will run, well, in 2017, the oil pan ran about 200 and some odd change, right at $200. And it's a very nice oil pan, GM muscle car oil pan, and it fits perfect. It comes with a new dipstick, new pickup tube, and all that good stuff. And then after that, I ordered some shorties. They have gone down in price, but I paid $260 for my shorties back in, I think that was 2016. The engine mounts I bought from Current Performance. They were $150, and they're well worth the money. You've seen my last video, my parts review. It tells you what parts I have that I think are good. After the oil pan, I had to do some small odd end things on it to get the engine running. All that added up to be about $150-ish, gaskets and all that. And I had to order sensors, all kinds of sensors. That was about $300 worth, and that was a big chunk of change. But it had to happen. If you can get a fully dressed engine, you can save a lot of this money. So I have about $2,000 alone in the engine swap, not included in the transmission or any of that, just the engine. Now, to do drag racing things and make horsepower like I have been doing, the cam kit, the BTR Stage 1 or LS1 Stage 3 cam, the lifters, the push rods, and you don't have to upgrade push rods, but I did. And the spring kit, that was almost $1,000. It was $950 something. I have long tubes on here. I bought those secondhand. They were $400. My nitrous kit here, the 92mm wet shot 4-bolt plate kit, I bought that kit secondhand, and it was about $800. So we're racking up money pretty quick. And then I relocated my battery, and that was about $100. Next is the transmission. I bought this 4L60E bone stock, 40,000 miles on it for $400. I upgraded my transmission cooler, and it was about $100, and I had to shorten my drive shaft, and that took about $160. Now for my drag racing reasons, I built the transmission. It is 100% built. That cost, I'm sure a lot of you have been curious, that was about $2,000. And then the Vigilante 4000 billet stall was about $900. So that was another good chunk of change. The wiring harness. I bought this wiring harness reworked online from a buddy. It came with the computer, stock truck computer, and everything in the wiring harness to help me get it in. All the wires were labeled. All I had to do was plug it in and wire a couple things up, power wires, ground wires, and all that. And that was $450. I haven't had a problem with it, but you can spend a lot more for Current Performance and get one that is literal direct plug and play into the fuse box. All your gauges work and all that. My gauges don't work. I was lazy. I didn't wire them up. and it is what it is. The fuel system is something else that you need to focus on. You can run the stock 4.3 pump with a stock LS. Like I've said before, I would be careful doing that because you could lean it out. I have a inline Walbro 255 fuel pump with a fuel cell in the bed. The stock, I kind of wish I'd kept the stock tank, but it's all good. I like my fuel cell. The fuel cell and the bracket was about $245. The pump was about $130. All the fuel rated lines, the fuel injected rated lines running from back there up was about 80 bucks. And then all the fittings to make it work was about 50. Next up is the rear end. I have a fully built forward 9-inch. You can watch those video playlists on my channel. I will leave a link in the description to that playlist. There was some good content there, so check it out if you're curious about what the rear end setup on this truck is. I paid $750 for my complete 9-inch rear end. That was cut to S10 length. I think it was 54.5 inches wide. It had 31 spline axles in it, and it was a solid unit, 410 gears. And then I had to buy a Quick Performance 9-inch disc brake conversion kit. That was another chunk of change, about $500. And then I also had to get a yoke, and then that was $65. And then my cow tracks, and then my lowering kit. Cow tracks were like $370, and then the lower kit was about 40 bucks. So we're looking at about $1,700 in my rear end setup. Now coming up here to the front end, the front suspension, I have the Calvert Racing 9010 shocks. They were about $120. I also went to a junkyard and picked me out a 2-wheel drive, newer body style, like a 98 and up Blazer, yanked the spindles off of it, the brake calipers, the brackets, all that, and I installed it on this thing. The reason you do that is you go from a single piston caliper on the stock S10 to a dual piston caliper from the Blazer. It's a nice little upgrade. I bought new rotors and new bearing hubs, but it's a nice little upgrade if you're wanting to upgrade your brakes. Now I'm all for disc brakes, which it stops really well. I do need a proportioning valve so I can get a little bit more braking effort in the rear, because I'm pushing through my front brakes really hard because the back brakes aren't doing nothing. I caught the junkyard on a $50 all-you-can-pack day, so I only paid about 50 bucks for the front brake, the entire front brake setup. I have new upper control arms and ball joints in it. Those were about 60 bucks. Your cooling system, you can run the stock 4.3 S10 radiator. They cost about $120. I had to replace this one because it was busted, so there's that. And my radiator hoses were stock Silverados. They were like $30 a piece. I hacked them up to make them work. So what you need to focus on budget-wise on your LS Swap is your engine, that you're gonna spend about $2,000 on swapping unless you fabricate your own stuff. Your transmission, unless you already have that stuff, that was about $600. Your wiring harness, which could go from $400 up to $1,000. And then your fuel system, which could be about $600. So there's a good chunk of change that you have to save up to spend. I would very highly recommend doing all that together before you tear your engine out or get started. That way you can just literally throw the engine in and have all the parts there ready to go and just install them all at one time. I don't care a whole lot about sharing this information, but I feel like I should. It's not really a contest of who can spend the most money, but I do have about $10,000 tied up in this engine swap. That's not including the almost $4,000 that I spent 4 or 5 years ago on the first engine build that is sitting back there, junk. So all in all, this is what you could be looking at to spend on your LS Swap. I know it sounds like a lot, but they are a blast to drive. You will love it and you will enjoy it for years. And if you want, you could turn around and sell it, make a profit off of it if it's a nice enough swap, a nice enough truck. And you know what I have in this thing now. That is going to be all for this video. I hope you guys took something from this video. I'm here to help. If you have any questions about LS swapping your S10 that I can answer, I will try my best. So comment your questions below or shoot me a message on Instagram. My username is that. But that's going to be all. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you click thumbs up and we'll see it.